Welcome, and today we have with me my alliance mate Snap. Snap is gold standard Storm, and I'm excited to have him here with us today. So the reason why Snap, as you can see, here are Snap's rankings. Snap hits like an absolute truck, and a lot of people have been really excited. They've heard that we're going to make this video. He is one of the best, if not the best, Storm on the server. You're about 1.4 and some change, cruising in towards the 1.5 mil mark. But he is a very competitive guy. This character is min-maxed. And just to give a little context, there was one night that we decided to have a DPS race. And how that played out was, so in Dark Zone, you usually have a DPS meter. And typically in Dark Zone, I would rank up at the top of the DPS rank, usually by a lot. So I would get 24 to 34 mil damage on a lot of the prime bosses where you can see the meter. It is pretty much every time. Once in a while, I'll win some little nuances, but Snap is the new gold standard for DPS on primes. As you can see, he is #1 in Battle Challenge. He is #1 in Dark Zone by a lot. And the things that he can do in PvE are pretty outstanding. So this DPS race, we decided to do it. We ran it multiple times. He won every single time against me. So his Storm is an absolute unit when it comes to dishing out damage. And he was typically winning by about 10%, if I recall correctly. We tried with enhancers, without enhancers, and I was just blown away by the fact that anybody could beat me, and it's a Storm. So I'm going to give the floor to you, Snap, and what we're going to talk about today is his build. And I'm going to take myself out of here. Just a little forewarning that he was kind enough to do this on the spot, so the audio is not perfect. He's doing this from his phone, which has become kind of a normal thing. A lot of people play this game from their phone. They don't have it set up on an emulator on their computer, which is fine. We're just grateful that he's able to get this information out there for us. And Snap, go ahead and take it away.
Hey, Tony. Hey, guys. Thanks for the intro. Would love to take you guys through a little bit of my thinking about how I built this Storm. Maybe go through a bit of the process over the last almost 2 months now, right, Tony? That beta started. Yeah, I started playing right
maybe
at day
2.5 now. Yeah, the game's maybe been out. Yeah, probably right around there, 2.5 ish.
Yeah, and just building the Storm from the ground up. Maybe we can start just overall strength and weaknesses of the character. I think Storm is super strong in PvE, a little bit lacking in PvP. Most people are aware of the long cast times that Storm has. Good thing the recent patch buffed a little bit of that. And just a little bit about the recent patch. I think some of the air skills got buffed. The guard damage for the ice build got buffed. But really, all the top Storms in the game that I've witnessed now are building lightning. There's probably one top Storm out there that is building the ice deep freeze build. I forgot what his name. Do you remember, Tony?
No, I'm having a brain fart too.
We'll look it up.
Okay.
And the reason why we've all went with lightning is because we wanted to avoid the long cast time. Storm has 2 lightning skills that are relatively quick. One is electrocution, and the other is a lightning ball. I'll look for the official name when we go over the skills. They both hit like a truck, one of her highest DPS skills. And as a result as well, we've been investing in our Hydra costumes. So costumes, I think, is a great place to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys can see that I've equipped 4-piece Hydra here with quite a bit of nano stars. Still working on getting full nano stars like our alliance mate Gags has. And that'll probably put us over 1.5 for sure. And with diving into the helm, the stats that you really want to look for is crit rate, crit damage, and accuracy as well. I know I don't have accuracy here. There's a reason for that. I'll get into that a little bit later too when we look at some of the gear that I have in my inventory. Essentially, you want to max your crit rate at 75%. you want to max your crit damage at 300%. Storm also has naturally high attack, so any percentage gain increase, she also benefits from a lot. And that also is beneficial for Storm both in PvE and PvP, building sort of crit damage, crit rate, and attack. Looking into my chest, again, crit damage and attack. For gloves, same with a lot of other tunes. I think dodge is the best stat here. I've probably re-rolled my gloves like 7 or 8 times, maybe more. And this is the best I've gotten so far. So a little bit higher defense, which is nice. Hopefully that'll be helpful in some of the harder PvE content in the upcoming patches.
Have you noticed some increased survivability with the 3 stacks of defense? So some people are saying, because a lot of people are focusing accuracy so much, that dodge rate isn't the S tier stat that it once was, and people are leaning more into defense. Do you feel that also, or are you still chasing dodge?
I think over time, definitely more people will have accuracy on their gear and be able to upgrade it to high percentage levels. So I do see diminishing returns with dodge. Defense, though, there's probably less people that build defense pierce versus building accuracy. So maybe in the long run, it is a more beneficial stat. Right now, having triple roll defense on this, I still die to 1 hit to a lot of the top Ironmans out there if I don't dodge their skills. And so personally, I don't really see a difference. I think overall defense now I'm at 11,000, which isn't really high anyway compared to some others that have 14, 15k plus.
Yeah.
Also, right now I'm in my PvE build. My PvP build would be actually here, where I would have 139,000 HP. This would increase my survivability a lot. So obviously defense
that's a ton of hit points.
So I've been relying a little bit less on dodge and more on HP and defense, but really isn't by choice. It's just how my gear came.
Okay.
Just looking at my boots as well. Stamina recovery is super important for Storm. And once we get into the skills, I actually use different skill loadouts for different game modes. Also, my skills have changed depending on the stamina recovery percentage that I had throughout the last 2 months. Storm has a lot of hard-hitting skills, but almost all of her skills that are worth a damn needs a lot of stamina. And so in order to do a full rotation without waiting and doing auto attacks, I'm at about the right level now that I can say I have the maximum DPS build for PvE.
Yeah, and you can really tell that, especially from me, because I have a unique perspective to your DPS, because I have gone so far into this game where I'm normally not challenged DPS wise, and for you to not only challenge me but to surpass me consistently, you're doing something right.
Yeah, it's lots of testing and lots of good luck with drops and pulls for costumes and Omega cards. In terms of non-regional costumes, which I know maybe full set of Hydra with all these nano stars are probably not attainable for some of the free-to-play folks. I would probably still build Storm around a lightning build.
Okay.
And I think the non-regional gear that still offers damage to increased class skill to lightning is 80s, the 80s gear. Actually had a full set of 80s gear probably during the first few weeks when I didn't have any Hydra pieces. I think that has worked well. Maybe we can dive a little bit into about the advantages of lightning and how I see that versus other builds. Other class specs. I think air current class, just all the skills just took way too long. I know that it's been recently buffed, cast time's been decreased. I'll have to do a little bit more testing as those changes have only taken place for a few days. Um, air is also very good for control and AOE. Maybe we'll see some air current storms pop
Mhm.
up if we get a lot more PvE content that's AOE focused. But so far there isn't really any challenging content on PvE that requires massive amounts of AOE damage. For deep freeze, I've been wanting to build a deep freeze custom set too, just to test it out, because one of the highest natural stats for Storm is debuff accuracy. Now that with the increased guard break from all the deep freeze skills, I still wonder how easy it is to perma freeze somebody, just like how Spider-Man does perma webs. And as well as for Storm potential, which I can dive into really quickly here. If you look at the second and third levels, or status effect accuracy, which is debuff accuracy used to be called, you get to further improve that and boost that. So I want to test out deep freeze build. But my logic around still sticking with lightning is I need to land skills to land the effect. And if I need to land skills, I can just land and electrocute and one-shot most people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm sticking with the lightning build.
Yeah, you've one-shot me before, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, if I get lucky on the dodge rolls.
Yeah.
And then for badges, I can take you through some of the badges. I love my badge too, triple roll accuracy.
Oh, nice.
Gives me about 20% of accuracy. 20% is not nearly enough. I like to have it to about 40 to 50% for my PvP set. So I am waiting to roll accuracy on this one. Or I get more Hydra pieces and I get an upgrade this piece here, which is at 0 nanostars right now. But I'm keeping it and not using it for my 5th nanostar for the boots, because it does have an accuracy roll in here. If you 6-star this, you get about 20%. Combined with my badge would be around that 40 that I was looking for.
Nice. Oh, look
Yeah,
at that crit damage.
a little bit over, about 8% over crit damage right now, so I'll have to optimize that. Not necessarily at the critical rate cap, still missing 2.4%. Nothing else. PvP, let me go into the PvP build. Omega cards, I have to change around. So I haven't been very lucky in rolling Omega cards. I only have these 2 specials. I do have an Iron Man, but I don't use it because it has I haven't managed to roll good bonus stats on it yet. And I'm enjoying the 4-piece Dark Zone 4 bonus, plus the 2-piece McGuardia 4 bonus here with these as well. This Captain America, I'm not going to re-roll. I'm just going to keep it in there because it's a grade 7 roll, so that'll probably stay permanently. Black Widow, unfortunately, air to surface, a good bonus stat. Hopefully, in the future, I can roll another one. One thing I won't go too much into Omega cards because I know Tony, you spoke to someone else before in depth about it.
Yeah, cookies. Yep.
But for Storm specifically, my most ideal card set would be rolling all shock damage. So I have a few cards here that is shock damage. This one. I also have. Oh, not this one. Kingpin shock damage. And you may ask why shock damage. It's a stat that if I go full lightning build, it's a stat that would benefit both my PvP damage as well as my PvE damage. So it's better than PvP damage increase in that sense. So
you can have a universal, so you can have like a universal build that works everywhere. I gotcha. Yep.
Right. I'm not too fixated on hitting that 75% PvP damage increase if I can get my shock damage up. Yeah, so that's thinking around. the Omega cards.
And
Let's
yeah,
see.
let's take a look at your skills that you use for your different loadouts. We can go into the change skills so we can actually see your wheel and what order you have the cooldowns in. I think that would be awesome. Then just let us know which. So this is your number 3 loadout. If you want, you can start wherever you want between 1, 2, and
Sure.
3, and let us know what modes you use those loadouts for.
Yeah. I use this loadout for maximum single target DPS.
Okay, so
And
that's
so
like
you
my
see I
Jericho
have,
build. This is your version of
yeah,
like a Jericho single target melter. Okay, yep.
yeah, 100%. So the hardest hitting skill is 1 and 3. So electrocution, as well as the lightning orb. Um, what's it called? It's called electric explosion. There you go. And then in the middle, this AOE skill I would use as a filler, which is the Thunder Crash skill. So it does a lot of damage. And I prefer this over the other versions just because it's on you, and it's not the target, and I can control where it goes. Previously, I couldn't have skill number 5, which is the Icicle Crash skill, Explosive Hail, because I just don't have enough stamina to pull it off. I don't have enough stamina recovery. I can constantly cycle through all these skills. Before that, actually, I press my cooldown reduction skill first. So given cooldown reduction, I can do full rotations of this skill bar too.
Nice. And I see that you actually even saved yourself a little bit of gold and didn't purchase a couple of these skills on your in your tree there.
Yeah, there was a reason for that. I re-rolled my storm
Oh,
maybe
really?
a month in. Yeah. At that time, I had 3-piece Hydra missing the helm. And what happened to the helm was I probably disenchanted on day 2, just use it as fodder. And I worked weeks to try to get a helm to drop. It didn't drop, so I just said, screw it. Before I get too far into my storm, I'll re-roll it to get that helm from the Moon Quest.
Yeah.
So I knew exactly what I wanted as I was leveling up, and I just didn't unlock some of the skills I knew I wasn't going to be using.
Which is smart. They're not cheap.
No. I hope the new. They mentioned they're going to buff gold.
Yeah.
Gold drops, and hopefully that'll help everyone out. And then some of the other ones I have, I swap around several skills depending on game mode, and then also depending on, I guess, opponents that I'm facing. So maybe to go through the different game modes, I can talk about Omega War first.
Okay.
Omega War, if I'm expecting a hard battle. So a hard battle usually would come maybe right after reset.
Yeah. Yep.
The first 1 or 2, or a lot of high-powered players queue up. I would go with this build here. Maximizing the lightning bonus from my specialization skills at 1, 2, 3. I should go into my skill wheel here. And instead of the Icicle Crash, I would take a more protective skill. This is for when I'm surrounded. It's good that I can bubble and then dash away. Also, when I see a group of players clustered, I could dive in, bubble, dash, and then unleash my AOE.
Yeah. So what you're referring to by using a specific loadout depending on the people you think you're going to face. So in comparison to what you're talking about, if I know you're on the other side, my approach to Omega War is where I do, as you've seen me do, I will circle around the circle. I'll fly and I'll circle around. Whereas if you're not, someone like you is not in there, I wade into the middle of everyone because you do lose some guard when you go up into the air. And so if I'm facing lower powered people, I will just sit in the middle of everyone and kill indiscriminately. But if I'm facing high powered people, I never do that. I do the opposite where I fly around. Is that the approach that you take in a Mega War where you try to get a good look of the battlefield from up above?
Yeah, exactly it. I think though, when I'm still against higher power people, because I do have that bubble skill, once in a while I do go in the middle and just try to nuke everybody, but less often than if I were facing lower power people. For lower powered, I would use this loadout here. So I still got somewhat of an AoE with my electric explosion, since after you throw it, there's a spark that stays that does damage. I still take electrocution; it's just too good not to take, as well as it helps me hunt down high point individuals and try to steal their points. But instead, I take two big AoE skills. So I take the Cyclone, Central Whirlwind as well. And this is probably the best AoE skill that Storm has in her entire arsenal. What's so good about it, aside from the high damage, is its range. Its range is absolutely insane. Sometimes I would fly in the middle and just kill 5-6 people. Half of them that I don't even see because they're so far away.
Wow. That's got to be pretty fun, actually.
It's high risk, high reward. Sometimes I get pinned down in the middle and can't escape, and I die. But that's okay. Dying early is... I play a lot more aggressive early on because I can die and lose points and then get them back by the end. Yeah, I probably play aggressively.
Unless Iron Man flies off with them.
Yeah, there's Iron Man. Probably. Oh, did we cover all that? PvE and then my standard build. I also use this AoE heavy build for blitzes as well.
Okay.
And for me, blitzes is just maximizing time spent, so clearing mobs as fast as possible, and also getting the last hit on mobs so that I can get more badge drops for disenchants or dismantles, for more mats. So I use this throughout blitz. What else is there?
Specializations.
For Darkstone.
Oh, well, unless you have more to touch on in the spec tree.
Yeah.
Or skill
For
tree.
Darkstone, I use this build here too. I do like the extra protection, just in case some of our rival alliances come in and try to snipe us. Or the boss has a big AoE, and I want to stay in the middle because the boss is low on health. I want to get the last hit.
You don't use number 3 for that. You don't use number 3 for Dark Zone. I always used my single target. Or is that your single target?
I don't use number 3 because I don't feel like we need the DPS.
Right.
Bring down the bosses. They die enough. They die fast enough as is.
Yeah.
So that's probably why.
So that's a specific thing to our alliance because we're able to kill the bosses so quickly. You don't feel like that's very necessary. However, if it was a storm that was in a smaller group, smaller alliance, maybe your suggestion would be to use what you're using in the 3 loadout.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. Okay.
And I probably use skill 1 and 5, electrocution and the icicle crash to try to get the last hit, as those are probably the highest damage single target skills.
Which you're probably also running in raids as well, this loadout.
Yeah, I'm running this in raids.
Yep, same way of thinking that I have with these loadouts as well. And what about specializations? Because I think a lot of people are probably interested in what you're doing there as well.
Yeah, so the recommended specializations are actually really good. I've made one change since, and so for attack focus, the system recommends these 4 skills, and you can see I've leveled them up already. I do feel I'm a little bit behind the curve on this because I have to restart about 1 month in, but still managed to get one at 10 out of 10, and I think the orange skill is probably the most important. if we equipped 4, and you can only equip the maximum of 4 lightning skills.
Mhm.
Its slot can't be. You just don't have another lightning skill to equip. That's 20% more damage across the board. For the purple skill, it used to be a problem for me before I rolled triple stamp boots. Basically, you use 2 skills out of the bar, and you're just autoing and waiting for your stamina to come back. But now it's good. I can probably max that to 10 and still have no problem. The last skill is good. The green one. I always get random kills with this in Omega War 2. 100% of my attack does about 30k damage, maybe a little bit more. But it's 3 enemies every 8 seconds. So I constantly am doing damage around me. It's useful also in clearing mobs when you're doing blitz. Just overall, I like that as an extra, just a little bit bonus damage. Shock, though, I can only see that being very useful if we get higher end PvE content, where now if I stack it to 7, the boss gets 25% damage reduction. But the current PvE content, I don't think does enough damage or unavoidable damage that it's very useful. It's also not very useful in dimensional duels. Because in dimensional duels, it's by the time you stack your shock to 7, like the battle's already long over. You're not going to land 7 ticks of any skills. So I've actually replaced yellow with red. And I did this recently too. Zayas was telling me that this is the meta, and so I really looked into it. I talked to Ezekiel as well, which is the other all-powerful Storm in our alliance.
Yes. Yep.
And he's been raving about this skill. So I started to use it. Extremely useful. Wow, like 30% faster means that every 3 times I use a dodge, I get 1 dodge back.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, that's got to increase your survivability substantially. 50 Gunner with his Spider-Man even said that's more important than just the 85% dodge. The more important thing is the active dodge meter he gets back from using his skills. He says that's the real breadwinner in his build, which in your case you're saying also incredibly useful.
Very, very useful. And one application that I think may be specific to Storm is I can now feel more freely to dodge out of my animations if needed. Whereas before, I'm still hesitant on whether or not to dodge out because dodge comes back just so slow on its own.
Yeah, very slow. Yeah. So, man, I appreciate you taking the time to take us through your Storm build. Your Storm is, it changes the way I play if I face you in Omega War. And on the flip side of it, in PvE, you are, in my opinion, the new gold standard for DPS in player versus environment game modes. And I think there's a meta shift here that people probably weren't aware was going to happen, because on some level Storm was probably disregarded because of how heavily everyone is playing Black Widow, Iron Man, Spidey. Storm, I think you've brought a lot of respect to her, because some of the things I've seen you do in game make me feel like you know something other people don't, and you've shown that she can have an advantage in some of those. I even thought, after seeing some of the things you've done, like, holy crap, she's going to get a nerf at this rate because you're doing such wild stuff with her.
Yeah, definitely a beast in PvE.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. The reason I chose Storm, I was watching some Darth Micros videos just very early on. And as we know, his main was a Storm. And I thought, hey, Storm is a good character for leveling with no idea what endgame content is going to be about. So that's why I chose Storm. I think since then, really built a love-hate relationship with her in
Yeah.
that I have to work really, really hard to win in PvP. I think it's not just trying to outmaneuver, and then sometimes there's nothing I can do to win in PvP if I'm against certain matchups.
Yeah.
And then just spending a lot of time in those game modes trying to get a decent ranking. PvE though, that's where I think this character shines. That's also where I spent most of my efforts, trying to craft a build for her that works and that is effective. After I watched your King's Prom video, Tony, I went and done a full sort of retesting of all my skill builds. So just soloing Kingtron maybe 100, if not hundreds of times, taking record of the boss kill times with each skill builds, and I can probably say with confidence that at least single target PvE DPS, just the skill build that I showed, probably is the highest for Storm. And I'm glad to be able to share that with you, with the community and your viewers.
Yes.
And hopefully we get more love for Storm out there and more Storm players out there.
Awesome, man. Hey, I appreciate you taking the time to do this, man. I can't say it enough. I've been super excited about doing this video, and I've been greasing the wheels, so to speak, with all the Storm mains out there. They've been wildly excited about me putting this video out after having this conversation with you. So once again, thank you so much, man. We're gonna go into Dark Zone after we get out of this video and solidify that title. You're going to be the next Sentinel of Boundaries, so congratulations ahead of time on that. You have a massive lead in there right now, and so for all the viewers and for me again, thank you for doing this, man.
Yeah, thank you for the invite, Tony. It was a pleasure.
Yes, and we will see you guys in the next video. Thanks, guys.